Hey everyone, in this video, I'm going to show you how you can build a no-code AI sales agent that will run autonomously for you, that will be able to research any of your leads, then contact them through texting, emailing, and even making personalized phone calls to qualify them even further, gathering more information on that call and get them to take specific actions for you and update your CRM after. Now, I've built this out for my inbound sales funnel, but you can also tailor this to work as an outbound agent as well. And quickly, I just wanted to preface that I recently put out a video going over a very similar system to what I'm about to show you, but I wanted to give a better use case after, building it out for my own sales funnel, showing you a real use case where it's working inside of a business. Also, I included some additional features since that last video, so I figured it would be best to create a brand new video showing off this new system and how it works within this new use case. So make sure to stick around to the end because I will be showing you out how you can build this step by step. Nick Prior here. I build custom AI solutions that increase your bottom line and save you and your team hundreds of hours. So if you're a business owner and you want to automate your operations to drive revenue and create operational leverage, then there's a link in the description where you can apply to work with us. And if you're looking for all my resources like the templates to this system that I'll be showing you and all the other agents and systems that we built out, you can find them in my community where we also work more closely with you and give you more in-depth tutorials and just a community of like-minded individuals who are all on the same path to, mastering AI agents. And I have a link down below in the description where you can just find out more information on that. Now, before we get started showing you how I built out this system for my company, I wanted to show you how it's actually working and give you guys just a quick demo. Okay, now we're going to hypothetically say we're a lead. I'm going to say that I'm Braden Ream from VoiceFlow. I think he's a pretty prominent figure that a lot of you guys might know from this space. So I'm going to just create a hypothetical and act as if I'm going through my sales funnel and I'm trying to book a call with myself, the founder of Reprise. So I'm going to fill out the website. So I'm just going to say voiceflow.com. LinkedIn, I have his LinkedIn pulled up right here. So I'm just going to copy this and I'm going to paste it into here. So what process are you interested in automating? I'm going to say data reporting for the name Braden Ream, phone number, and email. So budget, this is an important piece to know. What we're doing here in the backend is we're setting up some conditional logic. Now, if somebody fills out a budget of anything less than 2,500, we're going to deem them as unqualified. So to give you guys some context, 2,500 is the floor of any projects that we're willing to take on. Anything below that, it's just not worth it on our end for the, high volume of calls that we take on and, the amount of clients that we are currently working with. It's just not worth it. So in this case, 2,500 or above is just going to be qualified. So I'm going to say 2,600. I'll just go with 2,500, and we're going to submit it. So now that we filled out that form, obviously it's going to say, thanks for filling that out. We will be in touch with you in the next few minutes. But what you're not seeing is what's going on in the back end. Now, in the back end, it's actually qualifying me and making sure that I meet that minimum requirement, the floor of the project price. And what it's doing is it's determining if I'm qualified or not. If we are qualified, which we should be in this scenario, it's going to say that in the CRM, which is what's going to trigger the automation to call me. And what that call is going to do is basically just gather some more information and, find out as much as possible and really get assurance that we are qualified and can meet the budget requirements so that it would be ready for the next call where it's going to be a call with me. And that's where I'll try to close them on, implementing whatever it is for their business. So it's pretty important to have that previous conversation, just another touch point within the funnel to really, really assure that they're qualified. And it allows us to, take that time, look at the automation, and we could do a feasibility study, make sure that it's possible and present them with any additional details. So in a few seconds, we should be getting a call from that agent where it's just going to gather that information on the call. So as you can see, it says AI agent. So I'm going to accept this really quick.
Is this Braden Ream?
Hi, yes, this is.
This is Nick's assistant. I saw you filled out a form about some automation needs. Can you tell me a bit more about what you're looking to implement?
Yeah, I essentially just wanted to automate my data reporting process.
Got it. Automating reporting sounds like a time saver. Just a heads up, due to high client volume, our minimum engagement is $2,500. Do you have a budget in mind for your project?
Yeah, I was thinking something around $5,000 for this would probably be ballpark.
Awesome. You're all set then. How about we book an appointment to discuss your needs in more detail with a human sales rep? What day and time works best for you?
Will you guys be able to show me a demo of a system like this and case studies if we do book a call?
Absolutely, we can definitely show you a demo and some case studies during the call. So let's get that booked. How's your schedule looking for, say, Wednesday afternoon?
Could we do something sooner? Maybe tomorrow, 4 p.m.?
Sure thing. Tomorrow at 4 p.m. it is. Just to confirm, we'll discuss your reporting automation, show you a demo, and some case studies. Sound good?
Okay. Yeah, sounds good to me.
Great. You're all set for tomorrow at 4 p.m. We'll dive into your reporting automation needs. Talk to you then, Braden.
Okay, thanks. Bye. Okay, so there you can see the conversation held in any second. Okay, so we just got a text from the agent. It's sending us an email as well. So it just sent us this email. For some reason, it's saying it might be dangerous. We're not going to worry about that right now. But we also just got a text message from this agent saying, "Hey, Nick here. Our meeting is scheduled and can't wait to discuss how we can drive revenue and create leverage within your business." So you get the idea. It's just sending a confirmation text going over, the scheduled call and everything. So now that you see how it's working, I wanted to show you everything that's going on the back end and all the actions that the system is really capable of. So if we head over, into this mirror board that I created, we have up at the top is lead fills out form. That's the first thing that's going to be happening, as you've seen. Next up, we're going to be giving all this information to a sales agent. So it's going to take some sequences, but we'll get into the actions first. So we'll start off with all the way up to the left. So updating the CRM. So this isn't the first thing that's going to happen, but it's one of the capabilities of this agent. So if the lead is qualified, it's going to say that within the CRM next to the lead's name. If it's unqualified, it'll say that. Now, some things that when basically we were saying some of that stuff, it's going to trigger different things to happen. So if they are qualified, it's going to trigger a call. If they're unqualified, we're going to send them to my paid community where they can master AI agents and work just a little bit more closely with me. But, we're not implementing it for them. Okay. So hopefully that explains it. Then we have the researching of the leads. So this is where we're enriching the leads. We're researching their website, we're researching their LinkedIn, and also searching them on Perplexity. So Perplexity, it's very similar to SERP AI or API, if you're familiar with that, where it's just using Google, real-time updates and everything. So we're researching the lead, making sure that they're qualified, and just grabbing as much enrichment as possible because it's very important that we can add a very personable touch point. Maybe we saw that they went to the same college as one of our employees. That can be a talking point, and even that gives us a very, very high chance of closing the lead if we have something like that. Next, we have calling the lead, as you've seen, and texting the lead, confirming them, confirming the appointment or whatever, and emailing them. So there's a lot of different channels going on. And so I wanted to get into the sequence of what's going on. So this is the order of everything, really. One, we're qualifying the lead. In the back end, as soon as we fill out that form, it's going to scrape key information from them. So it's going to search their LinkedIn, their website, and also Perplexity. So again, scraping that key information, we're finding things like their education, their position, their, what their company may stand for, all that stuff. Anything that may be relevant for either the sales agent or the AI sales agent. Now, if they're unqualified, we're going to be texting and emailing the lead, sending them to my paid community, as I've mentioned, where they're going to learn how to use AI agents and automation for themselves or for their business to sell. Okay. Next, we have the qualified. So we're going to call the lead with AI. If they answer, we're going to gather information on the call. If they don't answer, we're just going to text and email the lead. The point of this call, as you have really seen, is to gather information. So we're confirming and gathering more details on their automation needs. We're mentioning the price and the budget to further qualify the lead. Now, if the lead is qualified, we're going to attempt to book an appointment. So in that call, I said my budget was $5,000, so I was more than qualified. So if they're qualified, we're going to try to book an appointment with them. If they're not, we'll just suggest them to my community. Okay. After the fact, we're going to be sending a personalized email and a text. These are going to be the same things, just confirming the meeting. From there, we'll update the CRM. So we're going to update it with the appointment details and the time, and any notes that might be helpful for the human sales agent. Okay. Now we have this at the end, and this is what we're ultimately trying to achieve. Now that all this is done, we have a human sales rep, which can now come prepared with background information on the lead and their company to focus the call on understanding their real needs in depth and answering any of their questions and ideally closing the sale. So the idea here is putting the sales agent in a much better position to close the deal. Okay, that's essentially it, what's going on within this system. Now, I want to show you how we built this out within the back end. Okay, so if I go to the editor, that was just a previous, you know what, let's actually go back to the execution. This will be better. Let me find the most successful one. Okay. I believe this one was from the demo. So let me pull this up. Okay. Now what we're starting with, and pretty much what we always start off with, is a trigger. Now a trigger is what kicks off the automation. It's what's going to start anything. What we had in particular for ourselves is our Google Sheets trigger. I'll show you really quick our CRM. I'm not going to show you the actual internal CRM that we use for our company for this sales funnel. Obviously, I don't want to give away any confidential information, but we're just collecting all the stuff like when it was submitted, what is the budget and all that, and if they're qualified or not, website enrichments and all that good stuff. So in the back end, you can see that it ran the website enrichments, LinkedIn enrichments, Perplexity enrichments, and yeah, you could see the call was scheduled and that they were qualified. Okay, but how we got to that point was through this little workflow right here. So as I mentioned, we're starting off with the trigger. Now within the trigger, it might be best if I just go back to the editor, show this part off. So within the trigger, we're basically using let me pull it up. So we're doing Google Sheets, and you could use any CRM that you would like. So if you want to use HubSpot, that's an option within here. Or if you want to use Salesforce, also an option. So you could pretty much always connect to your CRM, whatever it may be. So we're using Google Sheets. I actually forgot to show you which one I'm using. So if I pull this up, what we're using is down here. If you go to this trigger and if the row is added. So anytime a row is added, it's going to trigger this. Actually, this should be changed to row added right here. So let me change that. Okay. Why we did that and not the row updated is because we're later going to be doing updates. So we're going to be changing the statuses. So once that call is finished, it's going to change some rows in there. And we don't want that to trigger this automation to run again. What we do want to happen is we want to keep this active. And we basically want this to run instantaneously. So as soon as someone fills out that automation, we want it to run, instantly, as I just said. So that's what occurred in the demo. And how you do that is you just turn this from inactive to active, but you could also run this on a schedule if you would like. If you only want it to run once a day, what you can do is there's a schedule trigger right here, and you can choose the days, minutes that you would like it to run. And you can get pretty specific on how often you want it to run. Okay. So what we do here is we're basically connecting it to a specific API. And the API that I found was from Rapid API Marketplace. And this is just a huge database that you can access, which includes a bunch of APIs of a lot of different tools. So web scrapers and all that. So it's pretty similar to Appify. But let me show you. So what I used in particular, so we'll go to website scraper. But you can also find LinkedIn scrapers, all that. So that's also what I used from here was a LinkedIn scraper. what I've done is I basically copy the headings and all the parameters, the URL endpoint. I'm basically just getting the curl and I'm pasting it into my HTTP request. So I'm doing a get method for this one. It specifically tells me, if I go to here, it specifically tells me to do get request, and I'm pasting in the URL endpoint. Pretty simple. I'm giving it my API key, giving it some further parameters. Anything that's required, it will tell you in here. It will tell you specifically the parameters you need to include. It's really all on this right side, and you're basically just copying and pasting it into your HTTP node right here. So nothing really too complex here. I'm just giving it the URL for my website, or for the LinkedIn rather. All I did was just drag it and drop it right there. So this was Braden Reams' LinkedIn. Then from there, we're executing some code. And essentially this is just cleaning up the data. And I just want to make it as organized as possible. And what you can do, if you're not familiar with how to code anything, you can just use Claude to write this out for you. So it'll write JavaScript and Python, and it doesn't really matter which one you use. Then from there, we're just updating the rows. So the goal here is to update it with LinkedIn enrichments, website enrichments, and also statuses. So we want to update it with, as soon as it's finished here, we want to give it to the next workflow. So I'll show you really quick. We're going to be giving it to this workflow. But for that to happen, we've included a few steps, or a few triggers, I should say instead. So the next workflow is contingent on pretty much just one thing, and that's the status being set to ready. So once this is all finished, one of these Google Sheets rows, it's going to update the status as ready. And that basically just means ready to be called or texted. Ready to go down the line, or sales funnel further, I should say. Okay. And that's really it, what's going on in this workflow. We have another OpenAI ChatGPT model, which is basically cleaning up the data a little bit further. And I should also mention, we're also doing a ChatGPT node where we're determining if they're qualified or not. So we say if they're meeting the $2,500 budget. So it's going to check my response from the lead funnel. And all I did here is I just drag and drop the JSON. So it's not previously showing right now. I don't particularly want to run it. I'm out of API requests for this specific tool. So we're not going to run that. But what you can do for your company, and kind of why I wanted to show this off in particular, is because you could get very bespoke with this. So if you guys, I'd imagine every company has their own requirements and demands of what deems a lead qualified or not. So this is where you're going to be defining it, and you're going to get an output of qualified or not. So if it's qualified, it's just going to spew that out right here and say it. If they're not qualified, it'll say unqualified. So that's just going right there. And just another thing that's going on is it's going to change the call status to ready if it's finishing that workflow. Okay. Now within this next system, what's going on is we're starting off very similarly. So anytime a new row is added. Okay. So anytime a new row is added, it's going to trigger this automation. But we're going to be having more records in here where, similar to the last scenario, it's not going to be relevant to start an automation for. So that's why we're only going to be starting this system if the status here is set to ready. If it's empty, I'll show you right now. If it's empty, it's not going to pass through this filter, and it's not going to continue. So I actually have to run this to, so let me test this out. It'll recognize that we have this as empty. Now if I test this filter, as you can see, it's failing. I'll zoom in a little bit. So I went down the fill route because the status wasn't equaling ready. So I'm actually going to change that back because I want to show this off a little bit further. Change the status to ready. We'll go back here. Now we'll test this. It's checking if that status is ready, if they're ready to go down the funnel. So let me run this Google Sheets node again to check that information. And we'll run this. Okay. So the idea here is to have this system run instantaneously as soon as this previous workflow is finished and the status is set to ready. Because we want to call the leads as soon as possible. This node, it isn't really relevant. This really pertains to my last video. So that goes for all this stuff up here. I could actually just move this up a little bit further so you're not going to, so it's just out of sight and out of mind. But this is just another search row. It's not completely necessary, and it's actually a bit redundant to include, but I'm just going to leave it for now. What we have is another filter, and please keep in mind these aren't the best practices by any means. So you might find that there's different ways and better ways to go about some of these solutions. For example, we have two filters right here. What you can do instead is just have, you could add more conditions instead. I have two. It doesn't really matter, not important. Now we have this other condition, this other filter, where if the category right here is set to qualified or not. So this is where the part where we're filling out this form was really important to remember. So if they're qualified, we're going to call them. If they're not qualified, we're going to send them down this route where we're going to text them and send them to my paid community. So I want to test this part out, and I want to show you what it will look like. So I'm going to pull up my phone, and I'm going to change the status to unqualified really quick. So I'm going to put a UN in front of there, and let's try running this again. So we'll test this workflow. And now that we have it as unqualified, it's going to run this. So in just a second, you'll see on my phone, I got that email, and I should also receive a text in a second. Okay. So it says, hey, Nick here. I wanted to let you know we're unfortunately at capacity, not taking on any additional clients. But if you're interested in mastering AI agents and automations yourself to implement internally or sell to businesses, get access to double calls every week with Nick and our team, and access all our resource templates from YouTube, please click here for more information. You can learn more on that here. And then it's just taking them to my funnel where they can find out about my private community. We're not going to dig into that now. You could find out more with a link down below in the description. But that's essentially what's going on with this different approach. Now, what's going on if we would change it to qualified, it's going to run down this route. I'm not going to run it again because you've seen in the demo really how it works. But if this is qualified, so if this status right here, I'll show you, let me see, where is it? So down here, if this status is basically equal to qualified, we're going to get a true output where it's going to run this little sequence right here. Now what's going on here is we're doing an API call to Vappy. If you're not familiar with Vappy, it's an AI outreach and inbound phone calling service. So a VoIP service, if you're familiar with that term. Now, we built out Assistant on there, and we're giving it some information. So the first name and all that stuff. But how we actually built out that agent within Vappy, it's relatively straightforward. All we do is we create an assistant. You can just do a blank template. So name it whatever you'll like. And then you'll come to a screen like this where you'll make changes to your models and the first name or first messages and all that stuff. So what I've done in this particular scenario is the first message, it's going to be, hi, is this first name? So you're including a little parameter right here, just including the first name. So our assistant can pass that through the system in N8N and basically insert that right here. And then we're giving the system a prompt. So I just said your voice assistant. Now, if you'll remember from the conversation, there was a few mix-ups in terms of, some of the words that I was saying. It was a little slower to respond, and, it just wasn't up to my standard. So you could change the model. You can also change the voice and how fast you would like it to respond. And I believe why it was responding in that weird way was because I included these phrases. So I said use casual language like well, and I mean. So I think that's why it was a bit awkward. And yeah, I think that's where the problem came from. So keep in mind that I've probably spent 5 minutes putting together this assistant. And, if I were to actually build this out for a client, in the past, what I've done is, take some time to actually build out the agent, which isn't very long, but then to actually test it and iteratively find, the sweet spot for how you would like it to respond. So it's a very iterative process building out these agents and getting them to be production ready for your company or for selling uses. So it's very important to spend some time on these assistants. So that's why it was a bit ill prepared, I will say. Okay, but essentially I'm just trying to get it to meet all the requirements. So on the call, I wanted to gather information. One, I wanted to reassure that they meet the budget requirement, and also try to poke and and be a little bit nosy and try to find out some more information on their budget and everything. Again, this allows, the more information I get, it allows me to put together it allows me to prepare better for the actual call, so I can have a higher chance of closing them. So putting together feasibility study, presenting them with a pitch deck and coming with any demos, any case studies to, really kill it on that call. From here, the only other thing you'll have to do is you could change the voice provider. You could also provide it with some knowledge bases. So if you wanted to be prepared on your company knowledge, just create a document, create a Google Docs. You can have ChatGPT help you with this, but put together your policies, FAQs, and just slide it into this knowledge base. It's super simple. It'll take you just a few minutes. Now with the voice configuration, so you can actually play around with this yourself. I found Jennifer to be a pretty real sounding voice. Now, if you want it to sound very real, I suggest using 11 Labs and recording your own voice. So within 11 Labs, you can actually record your own voice, and the longer that you talk with it, the more it will sound like you, and it will sound just more realistic. That's what I'd recommend in this case. So all you do is just go to 11 Labs, create an account, and just start syncing your voice. We're not going to mess with that right now. From here, the only other thing you'll have to do is you'll copy your assistant ID. So you'll take this and you'll go to your phone numbers. Make sure you have a phone number linked to it. You'll copy this. So what I use is a Twilio number. You could also use different forms of connecting numbers and everything, but I use Twilio. So copy this phone number ID. You'll copy that and you'll paste it into these parameters down here. But let me explain what's going on up here and all this stuff. So this is the URL endpoint. So I got this from the API documentation of Vappy. I don't want to make this video too complex and confuse any of you guys, so we're not going to dive into much of that. You can just copy and paste this URL endpoint. Then we have sending of headers, and this is basically where we just include our parameters like the API key to make sure that we could actually connect to my specific account. Down here we have the body, and the body is all the details and the parameters that we're going to be passing along into my assistant. So taking the information from this N8N system and giving it to the system within here. Okay. So the parameters like first name and any other details. So we will paste I'll go back. So we're copying the assistant ID and we're just pasting it into the top right here. And for the phone number ID, we're just pasting it down there. Now, feel free to copy the JSON, but what I did is I also went to the API documentation. I copied all that information and I just plopped it right in here. And I included the things that I needed. So you can use ChatGPT to help you write it. So if you want to include parameters like personal information or enrichments, qualifications, whatever that may be, you can include them here. So pretty simple stuff there. Go back, put the video on pause and just copy what I'm saying. Next up, what we're doing is we're getting the call status. So with the call status, it's basically while the call is going on, it's going to constantly be checking if it ended or not. And why this step is important, because if we get the report from the call prematurely, it's not really going to make much sense. It might not go to this part properly. It's not going to send the properly scheduled time. It's not going to have the context that it would get from the rest of the conversation. So what we have to do to properly get the end of the call is we have to set up the same URL endpoint that we just did from the previous node, or we're also including the JSON ID and our API key again. Now we're going to constantly keep running through this, and this is just going to check if the call is still ongoing or not. If the conversation is ended, it's going to go down this route. So how we did that is we set up a filter. So if the JSON status of the previous node is not equal to ended, then it's going to keep on going. If it is equal to ended, then it's going to run down here. The point of this is to send a confirmation. So we're sending confirmation texts. So we're saying, hey, Nick here. We're just sending that to the phone number. So we got that from the Google Sheets node. So I guess I could just test this out and show you. I prefer not to get another call, so I'm not actually going to run this. But usually you would get your schemas right here, and all you do is just copy and just drag them and drop them into here. So we're saying this in the text message, basically what I showed you earlier, doing the same exact thing for the email. And lastly, we're going to update the status, because we have to update the call status just the status as call scheduled. You could change the name on this. It doesn't really matter what you're saying exactly. Something just so your SDR or your agent really knows what's going on. More importantly, why you have to include this status is because you want to change it from ready to something else. Otherwise, it's going to keep on running this automation. So yeah, we just want to prevent that from happening and ensure that it's not going to do any reruns and not, just send off any duplicate text to our leads. So we just want to maintain a very respectable reputation and not blast our prospects and anything like that. But really, that's it. That's all that really goes into the system. Again, I really wanted to show you guys a proper use case of these systems. So that's why I figured to create another video showing off how I use it in my personal sales funnel for my company. And that's really it. So I hope you guys found some real value in this. And, I really just wanted to show you guys some practical solutions in different use cases, how you can use them within businesses, because I think we're going through a paradigm shift in the world today where businesses realize that you can use AI and that they know it's powerful, but they don't really see the practical use cases and how easy it is to really implement them within your company. All it really takes is just some critical thinking of what you need and finding a way to implement that, whether that's finding agencies like myself who implement them for your business or just doing it yourself. There's it really doesn't take it's not a huge learning curve. There's low barriers to entry when it comes to building out these solutions. So there is a paradigm shift where companies recognize the power of this, but I think there's another paradigm shift to come where they'll realize the low barrier to entry and everything. But yeah, I'm really just trying to break down the walls and showcase how easy it is and make scaling for businesses a lot easier. And I'm doing that through showing off these solutions. So that's why I figured I'd build another similar video to what I've posted in the past. But if you are looking for this template, the blueprints to actually use within your own business, just copy and paste it within your own N8 End account, then check out the link down below in the description. It's my paid community where, I'll work more closely with you, help you achieve your goals, whether that's selling more automations and getting clients for this AI business that you're running, or if you're a business owner and just trying to use these systems internally and trying to do it all yourself, I'll help you along the way trying to achieve all your goals. Now, if you're a business owner and you're looking to implement these within your own business and you're looking for me to develop custom solutions, something a little bit more bespoke for your own company, then you could book a call down below. You could apply to work with us where we will go over and audit your business and check out the things that you need and see if it's a fit to work together. So that's essentially it. I really hope you guys found some value within this. And anyways, I'll see you guys in the next video.